Hi there, happy hump day and welcome to Wednesday. When you think about communicating and having impact when you communicate, often people think that the person with the greatest impact is the person who talks the most. And in fact, that's often not the case. In many situations, it's the person who is the most planned, the most judicious with how they use their words, who has the most impact. I remember when I was working in corporate and one of my colleagues was often fairly quiet in meetings, but he had gravitas, he had presence, and he was focused when meetings were on. And so when he spoke, he was able to summarize what was going on around the room. He'd listened, he'd observed, and he was able to drop in comments at the most opportune time. He was deliberate and he was thoughtful in what he said and when he said it. And so he had enormous impact and influence in the team. So think about it for you. As a leader or as an employee, regardless of what your role is, what's the impact that you want to have when you're communicating? Because there are times when it is about talking less, not talking more. If you want to have influence, you need to be heard. Because if your message goes unheard, you don't have influence. So if you think back through history, Abraham Lincoln is considered one of the world's best communicators. And he understood the importance of knowing what the audience needed to hear and when they needed to hear it. And one of the things that he said is, when I get ready to talk to people, I spend 2/3 of the time thinking about what they want to hear and 1/3 thinking about what I want to say. And if you studied his Gettysburg Address back in high school history, you'd know that it was actually a very short address. So it was delivered back in 1863 to commemorate the Union soldiers who were killed at the Battle of Gettysburg. And that was during the American Civil War. He didn't use a lot of words, just 272 words delivered in under 3 minutes. Often leaders are taught to be on message. They're given a script, they're given key talking points. But the problem with that type of approach is when it's delivered, it comes across as stilted, as staged, as inauthentic. And because it seems contrived and rehearsed, the people around them don't connect with them. And they're not connecting, therefore, with the message. And so the message gets ignored. So taking the time to craft your message is important. And you need to be able to ground your messages in reality and really understand what it is your team members, your peers, your colleagues need to hear. And so when you're thinking about your message, it starts with thinking about your audience, understanding your audience, understanding their background, understanding what they need, and what you need to do to best make sure your message is positioned and able to be heard. And that means keep it simple, be empathetic, and above all else, you need to believe what it is you're saying, because messages delivered with conviction have so much more weight, so much more power than messages that aren't backed with the conviction of your thoughts and your actions. Lots of food for thought. Take care and I'll see you next week.